Hey, good morning everybody. So here it is, Sunday, July 2nd, right at 8:30 in the morning. Temperature's about 75 degrees, humidity's about 85%. And if you can believe it or not, it has been just over 3 weeks since I've been out here to conduct an in-depth hive inspection. So the last inspection occurred on June 10th. The following week was the County Bee Club Bee Blast, where the new beekeepers earned their certification. So I didn't get into the hives that weekend. Well, that's not entirely true. I did get into the hives that weekend a few days later on June 19th, but that was strictly to pull some honey frames for our harvest. And then the following week, I was out here with the intentions of getting into the hives for an inspection because it had been about 2 weeks since the previous one. Came out on June 24th to find Swarmageddon, is what I titled that video. So I knew I had a swarm move into swarm trap number 3, the one closest to the road over by the bee yard. So I knew I had to take care of them, which was swarm number 12. And then I came out to the yard to a whole bunch of commotion. It sounds like electricity, and hive number 3 was in the process of swarming, which was pretty incredible to watch. I had high hopes of recovering them, which was a complete failure. If you haven't watched that video, it's the previous one to this video. It's worth checking out. I didn't have a chance to capture everything because I was out here by myself, so it's an interesting watch for sure. And then the summer solstice occurred around June 21st. I am expecting to see less brood, or at least, you know, that's how things should work. It's not how things always work, but just kind of a heads up as I get into the hives, things to expect. And then in addition to conducting an in-depth inspection of the colonies, I do plan on checking a few, mainly the last one over here and a few other ones. Actually, if you can see the brick is facing towards us. I was out here maybe a week ago just to pop the tops on some of the honey supers that I knew had wet frames, and they needed a little more time for the bees to cure the honey and cap it. So the last colony right here with the brick facing us, that's my indication that they had quite a few frames that were ready to pull, but again, I gave them another week. And then the rest of the hives with the bricks kind of in line with the hive stand. So 1, 2, 3, basically those 3. They had quite a few frames that might be ready. They just weren't up to my standards. So again, that's been over a week, and a lot of things can change in a week's time. So since I have to get down into the brood chamber through the honey super, I'm just going to take a look, of course, and if they're ready to go, I plan on coming back out here this afternoon with the hive butler. Same exact process as the honey harvest video. Pull the frames that are ready to be pulled, harvest them, and bottle some more delicious honey. That's it as far as introductions go. Shame on me for being this kind of beekeeper, but things come up. I just wanted to explain the why that is I haven't been into the hives in 3 weeks, and since you heard it from me, enough of me yapping, let's get into the hives and see how they're doing for early July. All right, here we go. Down at the hive, I would say in the first position, but that is now swarm number 12, which I was just in them the other day. Queen right, doing okay. So let me give whatever colony this is. I'm starting to lose track at this point, but let me give them some smoke. I already hit the front entrance, but let me oh man, they got this thing glued down. Which is another sign it's been a while. Man. Holy smokes, that is impressive. All right, this should be fun to look at. Ton of propolis. Let me give them some smoke and pop the top, get into this hive. Oh, man. Holy smokes. Yeah, look at that. Look at that amount of bee glue. All right, they are looking good. Give you a first look. But yeah, they are looking very impressive. They got some really thick frames. Nice bee population. I haven't decided how quick I'm going to make these inspections. Maybe I'll do what most of the commercial guys do, and as soon as you find a frame that has eggs, which is all you really need to see to determine their queen rate, maybe just call it a day at that. I will say this, it is completely unnecessary to go through every single frame like I do, and I will admit that is more of a me thing than anything. It is not necessary at all. So I just added this frame not that long ago, maybe a week ago or so, and they're already drawing out some nice wax on there. All right, just so this isn't the longest video ever, I'll show you anything interesting like usual. And if I can determine their queen rate, maybe I'll just call it a day and save myself some time. Which I was hoping to say that right now, but that's just a whole bunch of nectar. Okay, I take that back. So I was looking at the bottom of the frame, which does contain a whole lot of nectar, but up at the top here we have very small larvae, and then if you just keep looking, we have eggs. So there you have it, folks. I'm just gonna, so I'm gonna do that. As soon as I find a frame with eggs, they are obviously queen right, so there is no need to go through and disturb all of the frames. And a few other things come to mind, a few other reasons why I'm gonna do that this week. One, to save myself a whole bunch of time. Two, relate it to time, so I'm not out here too long, because I didn't say this in the intro, but I'm actually out here this early in a no-kidding effort to try and beat the heat, because here in about an hour or two, temperature is going to be in the mid 80s to 90s, and it is way too hot to be out here that time of day to do what I'm doing. So there you have it. The hive that was in the first position before swarm number 12 got put down here, queen right, eggs on the second frame, and that's what I'm going to do this week for those reasons. Save myself a whole bunch of time in an effort to beat the heat. And the third reason, which I don't think I got to just now, is really just so I don't disturb the colonies too much. And the fourth and final reason is because I am maxed out on equipment. So even if I found a colony that is queen right with the parent queen that had swarm cells or supersedral cells, queen cells of some sort, I don't have a means to make any splits. I am tapped out, which is an excellent thing because I have a few work-related events coming up and I just don't have the time to make splits and nurse them through the fall. So yeah, so I'm tapped out. So there you go. Hive in the old number one position, queen right. Again, eggs on the very second frame. And I think that's what I'm gonna do this week for those reasons. Mainly to save myself time and beat the heat that I can't say enough. All right, let's get into the very next one and do the same thing, really. All right, here we go. Give them some smoke. Can't have enough sometimes. This colony also has a migratory lid. So, all right, that wasn't as bad as the first one. But as you could hear, it was glued down, which is a sign I haven't been in them for a while. All right, so I can already see the outside frames are kind of bare, which is fine. Not necessarily an issue at all. I'll give you all a first look real quick. So they have a few frames that are nice and thick, but yeah, I'm just gonna do the same thing. First frame, I find that has eggs. They are good to go for the week. All right, newer frame, drawn some wax, kind of expected some funky wax, but beggars can't be choosers, right? All All right, same thing with the second frame. They got some work to do, which isn't a big deal. All right, as soon as I find some eggs, I'll share that with y'all and call it a day. All right, third frame, hard to tell. I don't see any eggs. They have some larvae. They have some nice capped brood, but what I wanted to share is this is that frame I've shared probably every time I get into this colony. Just extremely impressive food store. So they definitely have some adequate food stores, that's for sure. All right, very next frame, fourth frame. As you can see, a lot of very nice capped brood. Got some pollen in between, and then because of the age of the comb just being older and dark, I got my flashlight, and as soon as the light hits the cell, you can see some eggs. So they're queen right. So there you go. Hive in the old second position, now actual third position. Queen right. Really no need to go through the rest of the frames, and that's it for this inspection. All right, down here at the hive in the third position, which I hate to say it, used to be my mega hive, but they had a mega amount of bees swarm last week, which, you know, it just happens. And yeah, you can tell there's a whole lot less bees up in this top box. So let me show you that real quick. So unlike the previous videos where I popped the outer cover and the inner cover is just swarmed, or swamped, I guess. Swamped would be a better word, with bees. Not so much this time. Those boxes still have some nice weight to it, so I'm definitely gonna have to go through them like I plan to anyway, and see how much honey they have available to harvest. Just a quick first look at the brood chamber. So I'll show you anything interesting. Like I said, I'll have to go frame by frame, but I'm definitely checking for eggs. As soon as I find a frame with eggs, I'll share that with y'all. And then if that is the case, the hunt is on for an unmarked queen at that point. All right, in true hive number 3 fashion, they are already disturbed. Hey, so what I've noticed just by going through 2 frames is, the first thing, they have a ton of drones. I don't see any eggs, but check that out. That is probably why they swarmed. I'm looking at the sides. It doesn't look like it's been chewed out at all, and it also hasn't hatched. So I'm just gonna put this back. I'm gonna mark this frame like I usually do, the top bar, with an X to indicate where that swarm cell is at. And then I'm just gonna let this hive go another week, check on them in about a week or 2. And at that point, I should see some eggs, and then obviously everything I said before applies. They should have an unmarked mated queen at that point. So let me get my yellow paint marker, get that marked up, and I think that's all I'm gonna do for today. All right, there we go. I like that technique, it seems to work. Yeah, they're getting too irritated. I'm gonna call it a day for this one, but already saw a ton of drones, like I said earlier. To see a swarm cell that big is a good thing. All right, that's it for this one. You can tell by their temperament, they are most likely queenless right now. All right, had to step away for a few minutes thanks to hive number 3. So ended up getting a few bees in my jacket, which always makes me a little more nervous than I want to be, and took a sting to the neck, which was not cool. So now that they've somewhat settled down, not that you can tell by the amount of bees buzzing me, but now that they've somewhat settled down, let's get into, this was swarm number 9 for the season, I believe, and I made a split from them quite a few weeks ago, so they should be queen right at this point. I anticipate finding an unmarked queen. I have my marking tool set up and ready. Hopefully I get to use it. Oh, well, that's interesting. Ton of ants. All right, this should be fun. Wasn't expecting that, but that is just how things go sometimes. So yeah, let's see what's going on here. Let's see why they have so many ants. They're small ants. They're not like the devastating type or anything, but okay. So we have no bees in the top box. I added this top box a few weeks ago to give them some space because they were heavily bearding on the front of the hive, which has not been the case over the last few weeks. So maybe they're using the space, maybe they're not. Kind of hard to tell right now. But anyway, let me get into the bottom box, figure out what's going on, why they have so many ants, which is unusual. And hopefully that's not signs of anything bad. All right, I'm on the very last frame that has an X on the top bar, which is my usual way of indicating they had a queen cell of some sort. And so far I have not found anything I want to see. And in fact, yeah, I'm gonna say, here, let me need some sunlight. I'm gonna say they are probably queenless. I don't see any brood, absolutely no brood, no eggs, and they look rather honey bound, like they're still bringing in nectar. The worker bees are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, but yeah, they, for whatever reason, I can't exactly remember because it's been a few weeks, but for whatever reason, whatever I did back in early June just didn't work. Not necessarily a big deal because they still have time to recover. I can move a few frames over to try and get them queen right, or I might end up combining them with another colony, which is a single 5-frame nuke on the other side of the yard. So let me get into that one later on, and I'll just give it some thought what I want to do with this one. But that's it for now. Yeah, I'm gonna say they're queenless, a little honey bound, which might have something to do with all the little sugar ants. But yeah, I'm gonna have to give it some thought and figure out what I want to do with them moving forward. All right, down here in the hive now in the 6th position, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6. Let's see, they still have a honey box on, but like I said in the intro, I was out here maybe a week or two ago just to kind of check the status of some of the honey boxes, and if I didn't put a brick on this one, they probably didn't have really much going on. Let's just pull the center frame just out of curiosity, and it's got a little bit, but I'll probably just end up leaving this for the bees. All right, let's get down into the brood boxes and see how that's looking. I reversed these boxes quite a few weeks ago, or maybe months ago, the deep and the medium below. I might end up reversing them today if the deep, which just looking at it right now, the 10, 9, 8, 7, so these 4 frames don't really have much activity. A lot of the activity seems to be right here in the middle, but quite a few things to look at. Let me go through them real quick. All right, just finished the top box. Show you a few frames real quick. So this is the 5th frame right in the middle. Little patch of brood right there, but not a whole lot going on. In fact, a lot of food stores, which isn't too unusual for being the top box. But honestly, no brood. Same thing on this frame, just a bunch of weird comb being drawn out. All right, so let me get into the bottom box, which is actually a medium. See if that's looking any better. Hopefully my gut is wrong, but due to the lack of activity at the entrance, and then seeing this top box, which really doesn't have much of anything, I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong, but something tells me they may have become queenless sometime in the last few weeks. All right, better concentration of bees on the bottom box here. let's pull a few frames, of course, and hopefully the bottom box tells a different story. I'm really looking for brood, so we'll see. All right, just finishing up on the very last frame. Absolutely no brood. The bees are still bringing in food, more pollen than anything. The hive has quite a few drones, but yeah, zero brood and no signs of eggs or anything. So they may have swarmed quite a few weeks ago. It may have been one of the swarms that I actually caught recently. That's always a possibility, because I did catch hive number 12 that I caught within the last 2 weeks has a marked queen. So all right, I'm just gonna have to make a note of this for now and kind of come up with a plan and figure something out over the next week. All right, one last thought with this colony. So I'm actually going to move a few boxes around. So because they're queenless, right, and I'm gonna move some frames that have eggs from another colony into this one. I think it's in this colony's best interest to really consolidate the bees into the deep, which is where I'm gonna pull frames from another hive to try and get them queen right, okay? So with that said, I'm gonna put the deep on the bottom. I'm gonna put the mediums on top of the deep, kind of in a traditional manner. And then when I start moving some frames over from another colony to get them queen right, I'll end up removing the mediums to really concentrate the bees' effort into the deep box, and then just check on them over the next few weeks, and hopefully they eventually become queen right. But I have to go through the rest of the colonies first, find a few candidates, probably end up moving quite a few frames. I'm thinking at least 3 over into this one to really give them an effort to become queen right again. All right, down here at the hive in the 7th position. So number 6 and number 5 slowed me down a little bit just because they were unexpectedly queenless. So this hive still has a queen excluder on. I did not mark this hive with a brick from a week or so ago, indicating that they had some frames that were in pretty good state for me to come out and try to get just a little more honey for the year. So let's see if anything's changed real quick. It doesn't look like it. In fact, there's really not too many bees in the top box. But if my memory serves me right, I think this is the colony I ended up getting quite a few frames, maybe like 5, half of the super to harvest. And if that's true, and I harvested on the 19th, so about 10 days, close to 2 weeks later, as you can see, they've actually started refilling some of these cells with nectar. Let's pull one more frame just out of curiosity. Yeah, they're starting to fill them back up. All right, not too much going on in the top box, so let's get down in the bottom box for the inspection. Hopefully they're queen right. Colony already looks a lot better than the previous one. Quite a few frames of bees. Let me get into them and hopefully, again, they're queen right. All right, I'm on the 6th frame. We still have some bees hatching, if that focuses or not, and that looks like a drone. Not not any brood at all, and this is the second swarm cell that I've seen that looks like it was that could be chewed out or hatched. So there's probably one more frame with a decent amount of bees on them. So let's pull that together, see what that looks like. I'm starting to think this hive may have swarmed, but it's really hard to tell. And honestly, the one piece of advice that comes to mind from some of the gentlemen in the bee club that have a lot more experience than I do is, if you are ever in doubt, give it a week. Meaning, just give it a week. The bees usually have a plan. They will fix a lot of things on their own. But yeah, it's starting to look like they are queenless. No eggs, but the silver lining is no cells with multiple eggs to where they've been queenless that long and have developed a laying worker situation. So I lied. One more frame. And the other thing, if you're ever uncertain if a hive is queenless or not, mainly, you know, lack of brood is usually a pretty good sign, but they seem rather agitated when the queen's pheromone has completely dissipated and left the hive. They seem a little more agitated than usual. All right, yeah, great. I'm gonna call this one queenless as well, but I'm not gonna take any action right away. Like I said, I'm gonna give them a week, see if they rebound at all, and if not, I have enough colonies to where I can provide some frames with eggs in an effort to get them queen right again. All right, down here at the hive in the 8th position, I marked them with a brick in line with the hive stand, which was my indication that they have some decent frames still in the honey box that need to be capped, but they weren't exactly all that great. But then again, that was about a week or so ago. So let's take a look, see if anything's changed, and if things are looking on the up and up. Maybe pull a few frames later today and get a little more honey out of the hives. Well, to show y'all, it's wet, it's just not really capped that great. All right, let's see what else we got. There we go. It's got some nice weight to it. I hate to say it, this is something that I would probably give another week. This side's better than the other side, and same thing with the next one. Take a look at that real quick. Yeah, kind of the same thing. I'll probably give them another week or so. All right, let's get into the bottom box for the inspection portion of the video. First look real quick. Not a bad population of bees. Quite a few X's on the top bars. I'm hoping those are old markings of queen cells or swarm cells, but we'll take a look here in a second. All right, finally, after 1, 2, I think three colonies, 3 hives in a row being queenless, we have eggs up in here, or up in this section on the very second frame. Let me pull the next frame just to show y'all what that looks like, just because I can see down in the box, and what I see looks very nice. Let's pull this one. Yeah, check that out. Awesome looking brood pattern. We do have a little bit of a cell. Now it's a cup. I was gonna say a queen cup situation right here. That is no longer the case. All right, so that's it for this one. queen right. I might checkerboard some of these frames over here just because there's absolutely nothing going on. I'll do that off camera, but this is a candidate to move at least maybe one frame into the previous 3 colonies that are queenless. But I'll make that call later on today or over the next few days. All right, so I ended up going through another 1 or 2 frames just to kind of see how this queen's doing and everything. And this frame has a ton of eggs, which is great. So I was thinking about doing something different if I can get this paint marker to work. And I'm gonna mark the very top, the end of the top bar with a blue circle that indicates an excellent frame to use in an effort to get another colony that is queenless, queen right, because it has a ton of day-old eggs. I just need to get this thing to work. I'll mark the top bar and I'll do that for the remaining colonies, kind of if the shoe fits, and then we'll just we'll go from there. All right, there we go. Little technical difficulties with the paint pen. So that blue one is from a few years ago and I haven't used it much since, but we got some looks like we got some leakage all over the place. We'll have a blue bee or 2. We got some blue on the wax, but that's really what I was trying to do. Just mark the end of the top bar with a circle to indicate frames that are good candidates, again, to make another colony queen right. All right, you guessed it, down here at hive number 9, or the hive in the 9th position, they also had a brick in line with the hive stand, which was my indicator this season of colonies with honey boxes that have a few frames that might be harvestable over the next few weeks. So with that said, let's pull some of the better looking frames here in the center, see how they're looking as far as capping goes, and see what we got. All right, not terrible at all. And in fact, I'll just set this one here, give you a peek inside. That one looks okay. That one looks even better. Let's pull those real quick. Not to waste too much time, but more curiosity than anything. That side needs some work. That side's not looking too bad. All right, let's get into the bottom box for the actual inspection portion. I'm gonna put the brick still in line with the hive stand, which indicates they still need some more time, and I'll check on them in a week. But first, check out this frame. Check out this frame, and let me show you one more. So this is the 8th frame. Yeah, this is coming along. I'd say another week or so, and they should be ready to harvest. Nice amount of bees. Trying to share the same views from the previous inspections. Let's get this queen excluder off, which plastic ones you have to be a little more gentle with so you don't fling bees everywhere. But if you're gentle enough, it is possible. There you go, just like that. It's always worthwhile just looking on the bottom side in case the queen's there. But yeah, let me give them some smoke. And as soon as I find evidence they are queen right, mainly a frame that has some eggs, that'll be it for the day. So far, I have not found any eggs. They have a ton of brood, but check that out. That actually looks like a hatched queen cell. So they might actually have a new queen. I was going to say a virgin queen, but it's hard to tell. Or they might have a queen running around in here that hasn't made it yet, because there's been a ton of frames just like this one that have a lot of brood, but again, no signs of a queen in the form of eggs. and I'm checking all the open cells that are surrounding a lot of capped brood, which is usually a pretty good spot to find eggs, and I'm not seeing anything. So they may have swarmed recently, last week, and they are in the process of requeening right now. So I'm just going to go through the rest of the frames real quick, just because I haven't found any signs that they're queen right. I'll keep y'all posted, but when in doubt, give them a week. All right, things are getting pretty interesting today. So the hive right here in the 9th position, I'm gonna call them queenless. And if I can remember this, hopefully, right? So two things going on with the bricks now. So if they're in line, they have quite a few frames that might be ready for harvest in the next few weeks. And then if I am tipping them upright like this, also an indication that they are currently queenless. So hopefully I can remember that. Upright, totally upright, queenless. So as you can see, quite a few, racking up quite a few queenless hives. This one, good to go. This one, not so much. On to the next one here, which is the 5-frame nuke. This one has an entrance reducer on it, so I'm trying to think what that means. I believe this may have been a recent split, or it said split. Swarm capture. Honestly, don't remember, but it's got three of the 5 frames are brand new. As you can see, they're not discolored. Oh, you know what? I think this was I think this may have been a swarm. As I keep talking, I keep confusing myself exactly what their history is or was. But they have some nice brood. I'm not sure if they have a marked queen or not, so let me take my time. Hopefully I can find her, and if she is not marked, get her marked, and I'll share that with y'all. If you've watched my videos at all, you may have heard me say queens can be very elusive. So I am 99% sure I just saw her fly off of, yep, off of that previous frame I was holding. And there she is right there, lightly marked. 100% trying to avoid me. You got a pretty keen eye. All right, I'm gonna touch up her marking because she has a little bit of red left from this season. Doing a really nice job. Granted, only these 2 frames, but nice brood pattern, ton of eggs, nice larva, and the bees are doing a good job drawing out some wax. So let me touch up her marking, and that'll be it for this one. I also wanted to share this with y'all. So my very first mentor, Dave Peed, gave me this years ago, which is when I was very, very reluctant to picking up queens, and definitely I wasn't even caging them back then. So let's see if we can get her into this plunger, and then see if we can get her marked. Okay, so she's in there. So I was thinking this might be a little easier, which so far it is. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now let's get her pushed up. Try to do this on camera as much as possible. Yeah, let's get her pushed up. So the thing with this is it doesn't have like a backstop at all, like the previous one you're used to seeing me use. So you just gotta be aware of that, and of course you don't want to squish her. Right, so I'm just gently applying some pressure, trying to get her thorax. There we go. That might be the best we can do. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get her released, and that's it. A little easier to release queens with this plunger, and just like that, she's down in there. All right, down here at number 11. Yeah, have a honey box on, but I did not mark this hive with a brick at all. So I'm thinking they may or may not have frames that might stand a chance of a second harvest. All right, a few frames worth showing. So ton of nectar, they just need to cap it. Not really worth harvesting at all. But then a few additional frames. As I move along, it looks like the extra weeks did the bees good. They're capping these frames nicely. So since I have a few colonies that need maybe another week or two, like this side, but this side's halfway decent, they are a pretty good candidate for harvesting. All right, this is exactly how I was hoping the entire time in the bee yard would have went. Second frame, obviously nice patch of capped brood. So just look around, we have a lot of nectar up here that hasn't been capped yet. We have some small larvae, follow the larvae, and yeah, we have some eggs. So they are queen right, which is fantastic. And that's it for this inspection. I was hoping all the inspections would be that quick, but as you know, that's not how things go all the time. And since I could see down in the hive, I just wanted to share this frame with y'all. Check that out. I mean, that is a beautiful brood pattern right there. Same thing on this side. But yeah, that's it for this one. All right, down here at the hive in the 12th position, which is the third and final 5 frame that I have. And I believe this one was a split I made from one of the original early colonies of the year. And as you can see, they have a ton of bees. So it's kind of good. It's kind of good timing that swarm number 9, the 5 frame down in the purple box, doesn't need their top box, because this colony actually looks like they could use some extra space. All right, like I was saying from the previous hive, 1, beautiful brood pattern. 2, any open cells have eggs. So they are queen right, which is fantastic. I think it was this way. Hopefully that doesn't affect anything. Yeah, so they're queen right, and obviously they need more space. Let me grab that extra box down there since that colony's not using it. Add it to this one, and that'll be it for this hive inspection. But check out how thick that comb is. They're drawn out there. Absolutely fantastic to see. All right, here we go. Mixing and matching equipment, but that's what makes this fun, right? So I'll keep an eye on them. Too much space this time of year isn't necessarily a bad thing, but eventually it does become a problem later this year in the fall when the temperatures start to cool down. So over the next month, by the end of July, if they're not using this space, I'll condense them and remove that extra box. All right, I ended up taking about an hour break. So it's about 11:45. Temperature is now 86 degrees. Humidity is about 60%. And all I have to do is get into the last 3 colonies. So this one here, quick intro. I had a stone on top facing in my direction, which means they have quite a few frames that were ready or looking pretty good to harvest last week. They should be looking even better now. And then the final 2 colonies, just single deep boxes, just checking for overall health, make sure they're queen right. That should be it for this week. So maybe about 30 more minutes and that'll do it. Bit of a different angle since the last 2 hives have, I believe, what they call a garden top. A little fancy for me, but they were a gift from another beekeeper that actually got out of having bees a few years ago. That was nice of him to gift me some of his equipment. All right. This colony is strong. So I just smoked them. As you can hear, they are not exactly happy, as I'm smoking myself here too. So I want to do a few things. I want to get into them. Just take a quick look at the Honey Super, a few frames, see if they're looking even better than last week, and then get down into the bottom box for the inspection. And I already like what I see, but as I've learned before this season, you can't really judge too much by looking at the top of a frame. No kidding, check that out. That is beautiful. Nice wet frame. They should be able to cap that in a matter of a few more weeks maybe. So like I said, I had a stone facing forward, which meant they had quite a few frames that I thought last time, which was at least a week or two ago, were looking pretty good for harvesting. And here's the weird thing. So that side, ready to go, right? Ready to harvest. However, this side, not so much at all, completely uncapped. So that's just how things go sometimes. Let's take a look at a few more frames, because this is just very impressive. Oh, that is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. So that side, and unlike the previous frame, both sides. So that's at least 6 pounds of capped honey that is just ready to be harvested. Oh man, that frame's falling apart. That's not good. This colony has 5 frames, no kidding, 5 full frames that are ready to be harvested. So I'll come out here later this afternoon with the hive butler, pull those 5 frames, and that's it. They also have 3 to 4 more frames that might be ready in the next few weeks. So I'll check on them towards the end of the month, and if those remaining frames are ready to be harvested by then, I'll do so at that point. All right, enough of the top box. Awesome looking box, and I think I actually harvested a few frames from this colony earlier, so they've produced quite a bit this year. Let's get into the bottom box finally, just to make sure they're queen right. Again, the very first frame that I find eggs on, that'll be it. All right, this hive seems to be a little strong, and that's probably an understatement. So let me get this queen excluder off using a little finesse. Hopefully I find eggs on the very first frame, and that will allow me to call it quits for today. All right, very first frame, nice capped brood, a few open cells surrounding it, but I don't see any eggs. Ton of pollen, ton of nectar, but check this out. Let's flip this frame around. Look at that brand new, beautiful wax, a few cap cells, and then just above the cap cells, hopefully y'all can see that, we have eggs. So I was hoping this inspection would be that quick, and I'm gonna say they are good to go. All right, let me get everything put back together, and that is it for this one. This box is heavy. I wish every single frame was capped so I could harvest it, but that is not the case. That box is probably 25, 30 pounds, easy. All right, let's give number 14 some smoke. They are most likely a swarm I caught sometime this season. That's really how I was able to rebuild the yard. Thanks to Bill Previtt, the club president. He gave me 3 hives in March, which really helped get me going. I didn't make any splits from them. I just let them be. They produced some honey for me, which was great. But most of this yard, well, 12 out of the 12 out of the 15 are all swarms that I caught, which is kind of cool. Easy way to really rebuild a bee yard. Again, first frame I find eggs, calling it quits. All right, I am on the second frame and no eggs, but we have an unmarked queen, which I thought all the queens were marked by this time of year, so obviously they're queen right. Let me get these frames put back. I might take a look at a few more frames real quick, maybe just the next one. But yeah, let me get her marked here in a second, and that'll be it for this one. I'm 99% sure all the frames, or I'm sorry, all the colonies had marked queens. So I'm really looking at each of the frames kind of quickly to determine if she has started to lay at all, because she appears to be mated, but I don't see any brood just yet. So maybe they swarmed in the last few weeks. Oh, here we go. We got some ton of capped brood here, but that could be from the previous queen. I'm really looking for eggs. All right, a few things to consider with hive number 14. One, queen right for sure with an unmarked queen, which makes me think they may have swarmed sometime in the month of June. They have a lot of resources in here, to include probably the capped brood that's left over from the previous queen. No big deal. What I meant to say, ton of resources as far as frame upon frame of a lot of nectar, to the point where they're almost becoming a little honey bound. So this is what I was thinking. Granted, it is very late in the nectar flow. In fact, it's probably close to being over, if it's not over already. But I'm gonna add a queen excluder for the purpose of keeping the queen confined to the bottom box. And I'm gonna add this medium box that has some decently drawn out comb on the foundation, hoping over the next few weeks or the month of July, number 14 takes a lot of the nectar that's in the cells where the queen needs to start laying some eggs. Hopefully they take that, move it up north into the top box, free up some real estate for the queen, and then she starts having more space to lay some eggs. So that's my thoughts and my game plan for number 14. So I'm just gonna get this in place now. I still have to mark the queen, which I'll show you, and then we'll get everything put back together. All right, there are a ton of worker bees in here, so hopefully that doesn't become too much of a distraction or problem with getting the queen into this marking tool. So I used that plunger earlier today, but I don't know, I didn't really like how it worked. I like the fact that with this, all I have to really focus on is, there she goes, is getting her down in there, sliding that over, and then moving the plunger up with my free hand and then marking her. Seems a little easier. It's probably just what I'm more used to than anything. All right, let's get her marked. Nice looking queen. I'm pretty sure this is a new queen. They had swarmed at some point, because late May, early June, I'm very confident all of the colonies had marked queens. There we go. All right, hold still. Get you marked up. Just like that. Pretty easy. Let her dry off for about a minute and then set her free. All right, here we go. Let's get her released, and then my plan is obviously TBD. We'll have to see what the rest of July looks like. Where's she at? There she goes. All right, down in there. Let's get everything put back together and call it a day. Like I was saying, hopefully this gives them the space they need to move some of their resources around, free up some space in the brood chamber for the queen to start laying some eggs in. Check on them in a few weeks and hopefully we see some change. All right, down here at number 15, let's give them some smoke. This is the hive that has a slight modification, which I'll show you here in a second, meaning I ran out of inner covers. So what do you do when you run out of inner covers? Improvise. And I improvised with this corrugated board that I used to use for counting mites, which I stopped doing years ago. So again, this was pretty sure this was a late season swarm, and the reason I say that is you can see they're pretty confined to the center frames there. They haven't really started to build out too much on the outer 3 frames in either direction, so this should be fairly quick. Let's just go through them and see what they're up to. Hopefully no surprises, and just like that, there's some eggs right there. But considering there's only really 3 frames, maybe 4, which were probably the 4 frames from the swarm trap, and since this is the last colony to look at for the week, let's just check them out real quick, see what they're up to. Not the best brood pattern, but look at that thing. What in the world? That is a ginormous swarm cell. So I'm curious to see if I can find the queen or not. She should be marked. But that is a ginormous queen cell. I do have some activity on a swarm trap as of this week, so maybe I don't know, maybe they swarmed and moved on. All right, one more frame real quick, which doesn't really have too much going on. They had eggs, so they have a queen, but anyway, yeah, that's it. Just keep an eye on them, just something to be aware of for next time. All right, everybody, that does it for me. So hey, it is just shy of 12:30. It is hot, especially this side of the bee yard that is in the direct sun. So in summary, some hives are doing pretty good. Others I need to keep an eye on over the next few weeks. So let's do a quick rundown. So swarm number 12 down in the number 1 position. That was the previous video. If you haven't watched that, I'll give a little bit away. I found a marked queen, so that was a first for me. The hive now in the 2nd position, they're doing pretty good. Queen right, mega swarm cell, at least one that I found on the 1st or 2nd frame. I didn't go through the rest of the colony because, as you saw, they're definitely queenless, very agitated. However, they are still very strong. So I wrapped it up, especially after a few bees found their way into my suit, into my veil, which is nothing that I like. Swarm number 9, ended up reducing them down to just a 5 frame. Added the top box maybe just a week ago to give them more space because they were bearding heavily, but they may have swarmed in the last week or so, which is why I have the vertical brick that indicates they are queenless. Same thing with this one here, which is now the hive in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is actually numbered number 6. Pretty coincidental. They are also queenless. I reversed the medium and the deep, put the deep down in the traditional position on the bottom, put the medium above. Hopefully that helps, but like I said in the video, if you're ever unsure, just give a colony a week and sometimes they'll surprise you. The hive down in the number 7 position, also queenless, something to keep an eye on. And then 8 and 9, queen right, found eggs on the very first few frames, left the queen excluders in place. Oh, actually, I take that back. This one is good to go. So 6, 7, number 8 is good to go. Left the brick in place, running parallel with the hive stand, which tells me They have a few frames that still need some time to be capped, and then I might be able to harvest them. Number 9, they have a few frames that need a few more weeks. However, I turned the brick up to indicate they are most likely queenless. 10 is good to go. 11 looked good. 12 looked like they needed more space, so I moved the purple 5-frame box down to them. 13, absolute monster right now. They have 5 frames that are 100% capped and ready to harvest, and they have another 4 frames, give or take, that might be capped and ready to harvest in the next 2 weeks. So if I can get another 10 frames out of this colony, that is fantastic. 14, as y'all saw, found a queen, got her marked. Seems like they may have swarmed sometime in June. Gave them an extra box for all the reasons I explained during that inspection. And number 15, kind of limping along, mega swarm cell in the bottom, the longest swarm cell I've ever seen. So we'll keep an eye on them and see what happens over the next few weeks. So there you have it, folks. That was probably one of the better summaries I've done in a long time, and I'm actually surprised I was able to remember all that. So hey, thanks for watching Cole's Farm here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It is Sunday afternoon. It is hot. It is the 4th of July holiday weekend, so happy birthday, America. If you are interested in purchasing any of our local and raw wildflower honey, please get a hold of us. There are ample ways to do so, and in fact, the easiest way to do so, since you're watching YouTube, go to our homepage. Up in the banner, the top right now has one single link, which is our link tree, and it provides a whole bunch of different ways of contacting us. But hey, thanks for watching, everybody. It's been too long. In fact, it's been 3 weeks and 1 day since I've actually been in the hives to inspect them, and I'm not terribly surprised that quite a few of them are queenless. They may have become queenless since last week when I came out here, and I had 2 swarms up in the tree over there. So I'm not sure which swarm I caught or which hive I caught as swarm number 12 down in the number 1 position, but I know for a fact they were swarming last week when I walked out here. And then 1, 2, 3, one of these 3 may have been that other swarm in the tree, or I don't know if I shared this with anybody just yet, but I hung swarm trap number 2 last week when I came out here to find hive number 3 swarming, and then another swarm in the tree over there. So no kidding, I hung this swarm trap last week, and within a few days they have had enough activity on the front entrance that makes me think a swarm already moved in. So as you can see, if you're interested in keeping bees, sometimes it's non-stop. Let's just say that. Sometimes it's non-stop. An excellent problem to have, as I actually experienced for the first time in a long time this year. First time I actually ran out of equipment, and I am so happy that, I know this is becoming long-winded, but I am so happy that during the fall last year, I came out here, I brought a brush guard for the weed whacker, cleared out a whole bunch of space that I was hesitant to do so. In fact, the space over here used to look like this with thick brush, and luckily it was easy to clear. I had a bunch of extra cinder blocks. I bought a few more 4x4x8s, and that is now what you're looking at as far as our bee yard. So this actually used to be originally one 4x4x8, and then I expanded to another, and then after coming back from California last year and wanting to expand our operation here, bought a few more. Now we have 5 4x4x8, so we have 40 feet of hive stands, which comfortably fits the 15 hives that we have, plus we have some space down there in between. If my math is right, you can fit about 4 10-frame deeps per 4x4x8 comfortably to have some space in between to work. So my goal was to get to about 20 hives out here, and I filled all my equipment, which right now is maxed out at 15. I didn't want to buy any more equipment this year just because I have some work related events coming up and it wouldn't be a good time to do so. But this fall and this winter, I definitely have some plans to expand even more for next year. So please stay tuned, and next year might be pretty interesting. All right, long-winded, appreciate everybody's time. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. See y'all next time.